What is up, everyone? How are you doing? Welcome back to the scary, strange, and paranormal. It is that time of year, spook month, and because of that, you will be seeing more of these episodes as this is the Halloween fall season. And I'm actually been recording these in batches for you guys. We have so many topics. We're going to be talking about everything. And guess what? Continuing my promise, I am going to be reading your comments. We have a really great comment here to share with you on this episode because, again, this is your show as well, and I want you guys to contribute to the show. So I will be reading a user comment in this episode. And as you can see from the pictures of the screen, this episode we are going to be talking about those little evil looking guys called aliens. Well, UFOs, unidentified flying objects. No, not Rosie O'Donnell. Aliens and spaceships and just things that we can't explain, whether you believe it or not. Some stuff is just unexplainable. Some stuff was never explained. And there's been a lot. It's not really one of my favorite topics covered on this show. But it does happen from time to time. It does pop up. I get a lot of people talking to me about it. A lot of people that wanted me to cover it. And I have had experiences. And the thing is that everybody has somebody they talk to at least that had an experience. Let's be honest. And so many people that I've talked to told me their experiences. And I did have my own as well. You know, I've always been more of like a ghost, paranormal kind of a guy. But there is something out there. We're not alone. Obviously. There's just no way. I mean, why are we so special? I always tell people, they always say, oh, UFOs, it's a bunch of baloney. Why? We're here. And there's got to be other galaxies and atmospheres out there. And there's some people that just don't believe it. And there's some that do. And I think until you have an experience, maybe you could believe it a little bit more. I've had things happen to me that, I got to be honest with you, they're strange. They're strange, and I'm going to talk about them in this episode, and we're going to get to a comment. So like I said, of course, through the years, people have told me about their experiences. People have told me what they've witnessed, shiny things in the sky, weird lights, weird flight patterns that like a helicopter or a plane wouldn't do. You know, another thing is it Army? Is it like, you know, the government testing stuff that we don't know about? It's extremely possible, but you got to remember, unidentified flying objects doesn't necessarily mean it's aliens. It could be exactly that. It could be something that's being tested that we don't know about. I'm going to tell you a story about mine because I could tell you hundreds of stories that other people had. There's a lot of lakes and areas around me in Jersey that are well known. If you look up Weird New Jersey, and I've shot for them, I've done articles for them. It's a local newspaper. I know the two guys, Mark and Mark. They're actually very famous now. They're on Travel Channel. They're on these ghost shows. And, you know, I've talked with them and I've sent them images through the years for articles because I'm always out there with the camera. They've done reports around here of UFOs and sightings and interviewed people. And there are tons in the Jersey area, especially South Jersey. And it's funny is that when I went down to Wildwood recently, so many people told me on Facebook, oh, you're in UFO country. It's like the number one in the world for UFO sightings. And I looked it up and it's true. But that's South Jersey. But I mean, even northern New Jersey around here, there's a lot there's a lot of UFO sightings. Like I said, one thing about ghosts and paranormal, that's one thing. But as far as UFOs, I notice almost everybody has a story to tell. And they believe it. And I believe them. And they truthfully believe what they're telling because they've experienced it. Now they can never really have a definitive answer of what it was, but they've seen something, right? That's why it's unidentified. Well, my dad always told me stories of him growing up fishing around here, around in this area, or in northern New Jersey in general, experiencing stuff with his dad, with his brothers, weird stuff, coming back white as a ghost. What did they see? Something would hover above them with a light and just vanish. And a lot of times with no sound, like stealth. And they have other people to back it up. I talked with people also that a lot of times they have the same exact stories. Now, I'll be honest, I never really, up until this first experience, I've never really had a lot of paranormal and ghosts. Hundreds of experiences and other weird things that I've talked about on this show, but never really UFOs. Until one time, I was driving back home with my wife. Well, we weren't married at the time. And we were going out, whatever. We might have been engaged. We were heading home, passing a farm, a friend's farm that we knew. It was dark. I mean, it wasn't pitch dark, but it was pretty dark. And I seen something. Okay, first of all, I didn't. Like how you could see a plane from a long, far away distance, and it goes in a straight path. And a helicopter, you know what a helicopter looks like, and also what the light patterns look like. Well, the sky was black. There was nothing in the sky. And then all of a sudden a light turned on, a big beaming light, just sporadically on. And I remember in the car, and she was driving, but I remember in the car looking up and I said, "Did you just see what I saw?" And she said, "No." I said, "A light just went on in the sky, but it just appeared." So then I said, okay, maybe it was cloudy and the plane was behind the cloud and you couldn't see the lights. But it wasn't cloudy, it was clear. So I rolled the windows down, I'm looking around. But you ever get that weird feeling like something is up, like something is not normal, like you don't know what it is, but you just feel uneasy? Well, I was fixated on this, and I wanted to keep watching it because I knew something was up, and it wasn't something that I've ever seen. We've all looked at the sky thousands of times. We know what we're looking at. And it was above this farm, these people that we knew. And I'm looking at it, and all of a sudden, the light shuts off again. And I'm like, what? So then it goes back on, and it's very weird shaped. Now, when the light turned on, we're going down a really long road, a main road. So I seen it from a distance before we got close to it. It took off, but the weird thing is that it was stagnant, like slow, but then it just bolted, like it didn't want to be seen. So then I said, son of a bitch, I said to Michelle, turn on the other road. Don't go home. I want to follow this thing. I want to see if we can get up to it. She thinks I'm crazy. But as she's turning onto the other road, she sees it. It turned its lights back on. And it was in such a weird formation. I'm going to tell you something. We actually caught up to this thing. I'll never forget it. We were directly under it. And all I can remember is that it was like a V shape. It was almost, now, it almost looked like a stealth bomber, and it very well could have been, right? Like those stealth bombers. Because I'm going to tell you, the first thing that I noticed was I couldn't hear it. It had no sound. But here's the weird thing. It had a very bright light. But when we got under it with the car, the light shut off. Now, I'm not really up on aviation or rules and laws, but I know you can't freaking shut your lights off. You know what I mean? I know about flight, elevation and all that from flying drones and like restrictions and where I can fly a drone and where I can't and all that stuff and how high I could go. But as far as like aircraft and stuff, I don't know what their rules are. I just know enough to because I have a drone license. I went for it. So I know a little bit about, all that stuff. But I said to Michelle, you can't just shut your lights off. The lights just shut off. But then the lights went on seconds later, but the thing was miles away, like in the distance, without a sound. And like how a lot of times, like when it hits the sound barrier, like way later you hear the sound after you see the aircraft? We never heard nothing. We never heard nothing. But I remember days later talking to somebody in town, over listening. I think it was at like the post office or something, shipping the eBay package. Somebody was talking about it, that they seen it at exactly the same location as me. And I said, whoa, wait a minute. I seen it. And the way that they described it was exactly the way that I seen it. But I think they seen it at a different day, but in the same location. So, was it who knows? Was it the government testing something in the same area? They decided that that's going to be their testing location? Or was it something else? But whatever it was fucking weird, and it was something that I never had seen, or I didn't know it had those capabilities of doing. Just imagine what it could do. It was weird. It was really weird. Another experience that I had was, it's funny because this is actually going to be another topic. There's an actual real abandoned haunted mansion very close to our house. And the funny thing is that it's on a desolate road. And it's such a backlit, abandoned road that, let me tell you, if you break down, you're in a world of hurt. There's nobody around. And the reason why me and my dad were on this road in the middle of the night was because I'm a big moon shooter. I love to shoot the moon. And we had found a spot on that road, actually before you get to the haunted lodge, where it just looks into a meadow and there's clear sky. You got to remember, there's no city lights, there's no street lights, there's no house lights. It's pitch dark. So I said, you know what? You got to get me there. We're going to set up and I'm going to get the big zoom on. I had this at the time. It was before I had the Tamron. It was the 70-200 Canon. I had the 7D Mark II. We went there, and I'm setting up, and I'm shooting the moon. On one of my portfolios, I think it might be 500 PX, you could see the moon shots of that moon. But anyway, it was a harvest moon, I believe. I believe it was around October. But whatever. Fucking peaceful, quiet. You could hear a pin drop. The sky was clear. The sky was quiet. Something went above us. What a bright ass light. Light shut off. But you could hear boom, take off. And into the distance, because it was just nothing but endless fields. You could see miles and miles and miles. Pure country. The light went back on and we followed it, and it just shot, but it shot up. It shot up. Not a comet, not a shooting star, because the light stopped and you could see it was an aircraft. It was like oval. And the light went off and then it went back on and then it shot up like phew. Probably figured nobody's going to see it, Who's going to be out there in the middle of the night in the middle of a field? But because I was there setting up with my tripod and my camera, I was looking up and I seen it. Oh man, my dad could tell you stories. I ran into a lot of people that could tell you stories. My wife has some stories. Everybody, like I said, seems to have a UFO story. And they all seem, very similar. It's just a shame that nobody has really, hard-earned evidence or footage. A lot of times I think it's because it happens so fast that before you even think, it's gone. It's over and done with, and you don't have time to even think. In a blink of an eye, it's the experience is over with. And I think that's what happens with a lot of people. And I think a lot of times there's a lot of fakes out there too. And it puts a lot of people off to believe the others. A lot of now, with today's technology, a lot of it's drones. Faking it with drones. You know what I mean? So you got to take the fake with the real, but either way, there's something going on, and it's definitely freaky, and it's not your normal everyday aircraft or airplane. It's something else. Because why is it unexplained? I'm going to read the comment for this episode. This was left on an earlier episode in the comment section. Let's see. I also want to explain something to you guys, in case you don't know. Okay. For the most part, when you guys leave a comment, like if you guys leave a comment to share on the show, a lot of times what I'll do is if I decide to pick that comment to share on a future episode, I will let you guys know in the comment section. I will write you back. I will pin or click on your comment and write you and say, thank you for sharing. Look out for episode so-and-so. It may not be the next episode. It may be an episode, 2, 3 episodes down the line. But I will tell you, thank you. Keep an eye out for a future episode. I'm going to be featuring your comment on my show. That's what I've been doing to people. So you guys know, maybe you don't watch every episode or maybe you don't watch every video. You guys will know when your comment is going to be featured. Okay? So I did that to this guy here. And this is Dustin P. Lee. I was at my aunt's house in Louisiana at her old house in the country in a neighborhood, and I was 10 or 11 years old, and we saw the Wii remote fly off the TV, and we all are sitting on the couch and chairs, and my dad's dad passed away, and my mom said, "Were you talking to my mom?" And my dad said he was talking to his dad. And when my mom walked in the room, my dad was in. He was white as a ghost. That's it. Thank you for sharing, first of all, Dustin. That's a I have a lot of similar experiences. I've heard a lot of similar experiences. I could tell you about loved ones showing signs in a house. Similar. Now, see, you said your Wii remote flew off. I'll give a couple examples. Me personally, my uncle, my mom's brother, passed away very young. He got injured on the job, and he fell to his death. It was very tragic. And I remember I was at my grandmother's house, and she was distraught, obviously. I mean, she was just never the same, really. And I remember we were talking about him in the living room, and she had a picture frame on the shelf, and it flew off. But not just like fell, it pushed off, flew, like way far away from the shelf. A few years later, same thing happened with my grandfather in the same house. His picture flew off the shelf. Flew off the shelf violently, and the glass frame busted everywhere. It's their way, I believe, in communicating. I believe it's their way of sharing, letting us know they're there. I don't know if you want to call it a lucid dream, because that's usually like when you're at your own funeral or when you see yourself from above. I had a dream one time that I was dead in the dream, and I knew I was dead, and my parents were mourning in the dream, and I was trying to let them know that I was okay. And in the dream, I was trying to connect with my mother because she was crying her eyes out on the couch. They had just gotten back from my funeral. Very creepy dream. And in the dream, I knocked over my picture with my elbow. And my mother jumped. And she goes to my father, look, my son's picture just fell. I think that that's kind of like what it really is. It's, they're trying to communicate that way. Now, in my dream, I did it by accident. But, I mean, it had the same, I was supposedly dead in the dream, but I was communicating with my parents. Very strange. We're going to have an episode about dreams in the future. I'm going to talk about that dream in detail. We're definitely going to dedicate a dream episode. But, yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think what else. My mother has heard loved ones' voices clear as day, in her house. Past loved ones. Fully awake, not sleeping, not a dream. Talking about a loved one, and at the exact same time hear a glass break in the kitchen. They have ways of letting you know. May not necessarily be even the person that you're talking about, but somebody on the other side is trying to get a hold of your attention. I listen. I truthfully believe it, because something falling off a shelf is one thing, but being pushed off, I don't know. Not a coincidence. Not a, oops, this fell. Definitely strange. I'm going to dedicate, you know what, Dustin, you gave me a great idea. I'm going to dedicate an episode to that, because I have a lot of other stories too about loved ones communicating, past ones communicating in different ways. I have a lot. I don't want to talk about them right now because it'll spoil it for a future episode, but that's a good topic to talk about. Thank you, Dustin. Thank you for the comment. All right, guys. Until the next episode, take care, stay scary, stay strange, and stay paranormal. And I'll see you next time. Bye.